Hello and welcome to Sessions with Judith John. You can see the WhatsApp number on which you can contact me here on the screen 829797082, or you can just drop a mail at sessionswithjudithjohn@gmail.com. In today's session, we're going to see the lesson, the last lesson, which is the first lesson in your textbook. To begin with, we are not going to do the whole lesson, but all that is important for you in the exam, what you ought to know about the lesson. So here is the last lesson by Alphonse Daudet. Even this, the name of the lesson, as it is given here on the screen, and the writer's name, the author's name, is a 1-mark question. Please make sure that you know it thoroughly well. Keep your textbooks out to mark out all the important things as we go ahead with the lesson. First of all, to start with the theme. What is the theme of the lesson? The theme, there are two things you have to notice. One is the importance of one's own language, or the linguistic human rights. Each one in this world, we have our own liberty to speak whatever language we know, or we want to know, or we want to use. So the importance of when we say of one's own language, it's one's own mother tongue. Okay. And the next thing that the lesson touches on is the student-teacher relationship and attitudes to learning and teaching. How a student behaves towards the whole learning teaching process and how a teacher looks at it. In the last year's textbook, if you remember, the Browning's version, in that lesson, you have already seen a little bit about how a student-teacher relationship goes. All of you have already spent more than 12 years in school. So you know how the relationship between you and your teacher matters and how you take it along in life, because they do influence you, and how at times the student is a little lax, or the teachers. We will be discussing more on this as we go ahead with the lesson. The next thing is the value. Now, every literature lesson, please remember, there will be deeply imbibed values or a message, a strong message that comes out of it. So here we have, don't take anything for granted, which we usually do, and never put off anything for tomorrow. This is again a very important value we all have to really imbibe, because whenever we say we do it tomorrow, that day never comes. So don't take anything for granted what you have at hand. Realize the value of it. Treat it as precious. And then the important thing, the characters. When we are coming to the characters, it's very important for you to be very clear and not mix up with any other characters in any other stories, in any other lesson. So here we have M. Hamel, actually M, which stands for measure, it pronounces measure in French. Out of respect, a person who is there, a citizen of France, who is to be respected, a teacher here. So he is the teacher, M. Hamel. Throughout the lesson, it's mentioned as M. Hamel, which is actually Monsieur Hamel. And then Franz, who is the student. Franz, who is the student. A blacksmith who comes in, and then the villagers of the village school, from where the school is situated, so the people living there. A few of them we will be seeing in the lesson. Whenever you are doing a literature lesson, make sure that you know the name of the lesson, the author's name, the theme on which the lesson runs, because you may get a long answer on this, and even the value learnt from the lesson, which also comes as a long answer. In what context, that we will see as and how we go ahead with our textbook. Keep your textbook ready. We'll continue. As we continue, please do mark all the important things as and how I keep showing you here on the screen. So here is the lesson, the textbook page open. You can see The Last Lesson by Alphonse Daudet. We'll do a quick reading about the author before we go into the lesson. And if you look at, you need to know about any story, at the beginning, the backdrop to the story. And what is the backdrop exactly like? What are we talking about? So here, if you look at this story on which the last lesson is written, the backdrop is the Franco-Prussian War. This is the backdrop to the story, the Franco-Prussian War fought between 1870 to 1871. So what was the condition then? What was the situation? Why are we even talking about this in the story as a forward to the story? Because of these two districts, French districts of Alsace and Lorraine, which are being discussed over here, and the story that takes place, whatever the events that follow in the story here, happen here in these two districts, that is the districts of Alsace and Lorraine. Okay, and if you look at the Franco-Prussian War during the time, now any war you talk of for that matter, it's the first thing is just it has a great effect on school life. Okay, look at even the pandemic. The very first thing is what happened, that immediately schools were closed. If there is a riot, schools are closed. If there is a bomb blast, then schools are closed. The very first thing is that's what is done. Why? Because we look at the safety of the children first. Okay, that comes first. So automatically the schools are closed, and what effect it has. All of you are experiencing it. You know what it is with the pandemic. When the schools are closed and how you are struggling and trying to make school still happen along with the teachers and the school management as to how the classes are being run. So this story also talks about something like that. What happens when there's a war, right? Or you can take the example of Afghanistan, what is happening there. Education has almost come to a standstill. So what are the things happening? Okay. So what are the points you have to keep in mind here in the lesson? We already spoke about the theme. We spoke about the characters. All right. And now we go on to the lesson. Now in the lesson, what are the things you should know? The whole thing is from the first person that starts over here, I. The very first word in the lesson starts with I started for school, and that I is Franz, the student, the little boy who's going to school. So everything has seen through his eyes. Now if you look at Franz, like any other child and like all of you, given a choice, would not go to school at all, would love to go out in the open, play, look at the soldiers who are practicing there and play with the birds around or birds' eggs, and otherwise, the woods which are there. Now it's a village, it's not a city. So he would enjoy doing all that. Why would he even want to go to school? Just like all other children. You would also try to find some kind of an excuse how you can just avoid going to school. So here, he dreads. Look at this lesson. I've been highlighting here and there. You can follow that up. Was in great dread of a scolding. Why? Why is he in dread? Means what? In great fear of going to school that morning. Why is Franz really afraid of going to school? Because he doesn't know anything about participles, and he knows that his teacher is going to ask him questions based on that. This happens to you as well when you want, on a day when you're not prepared for a class test, on a day when you have not done your homework and you wouldn't really want to go to school. You'll wait to see how I can find an excuse and say that I'm not well and just skip class. And what are participles? Just for you to revise, this is a little bit of extra information. A verb which is used as an adjective. Okay. So you can make note of that as well if you have forgotten. You've already learned about it in the lower classes. So Franz's situation is this. He is just like any other child wanting to go and play, but he forces himself anyhow to walk to school. And when he is going to school, on the way, there is a bulletin board. What is a bulletin board? Nowadays, you have social media, you have technology at hand, you have your mobile in hand. So easily you can get all information right to where you are. And this is olden days. If you look at the date, what is the date we are talking about? 1870. Okay, 1870, 1870, 1871. When there were no other means of communication, what would happen in the marketplaces? There would be a big board, and on the board they would write all the news. One person is appointed for it. He would come and write all the news. On the bulletin board, people who are walking up and down will come there at least once to see what is on the board, to get to know the news, what is the news like. So that is how it happens. So here on the board, he saw that some people were standing there looking at the board. That means there was some news up there. And he is not going to stop. He is still going to school. Alright. But then as he was walking, he thinks to himself, see, all the bad news came from here, from this board. That war, about death of people, about all that was happening. Okay. And at the time, he sees a blacksmith. Okay. Watched her. Blacksmith watched her. What does he tell him? He says, don't go so fast. You have plenty of time. So the little boy Franz thinks that, this man is making fun of me. I know I'm already late to school. I'm trying to rush. And here he is telling me that, there's plenty of time. Why do you have to rush? And all that, which is not the truth. So he thinks so, and he rushes towards school. Now, there is maybe a 1-mark question on the blacksmith watched her. And what he says don't go fast, you'll be there in plenty of time. Okay. And what does Franz want to do? He wants to go out and play, watch the soldiers and go off into the woods and look at the birds. But he has to go to school. Why is he in dread of going to school? Because he doesn't know participles on which the teacher will be questioning him on that day. Now with all this, he is entering the school. What happens when he is entering the school? Usually what happens in school? The usual scene in school is there will be a great bustle. What is a great bustle? Energetic movement, all busy. In the morning if you are entering school, then everyone coming in and all that. There will be a lot of commotion, a lot of noise, a lot of confusion, a lot of everything. But on that given day when he entered school late, it was as quiet as Sunday morning. As quiet as Sunday morning is a simile used over here by the author. This particular simile also can be a 1-mark or 2 marks question, where it actually refers to the quiet Sunday mornings. Why? Now this is in France, and France was, at least if not now, a Christian nation, a very Catholic nation, and in the 1870s. So when it comes to Sunday morning, the only thing the people will do is get up, stay in a very meditative mode, and just get ready and go to church. After the mass or the prayers in the church, when they come out, only then their celebration starts, their day starts. Sunday is a day to relax. It's a day for God according to the Christians. Okay. So that is why this particular line is used here, as quiet as Sunday morning. So he thought, why all like as the prayerful mood or what? No one is there. And when he enters, if you are entering your class late, what will happen? Teacher will surely scold you, punish you, ask you at least why you are late. But here very nicely, to his great surprise, in fact a little bit of he's shocked altogether, he just enters the class and his teacher Hamel tells him, go to your place quickly, little Franz. We were beginning without you. See this line over here. Now that is very important. So he quickly rushes there. We'll see many things now later as we go on. Why and what all he finds out are the things that are different in school that day. That is the next important question. We'll be just rushing through all the important questions here. Wherever I have highlighted here with this yellow color, it's to be memorized. Because this is again a 2 marks question. It could be or even a 1 mark question on what was the teacher's dressed like. What was the teacher's dressed like? Yes. He had on his beautiful green coat, his black silk cap, all embroidered, and which he wore only on inspection days, on prize days, on special days. Now all of us, what do we do? Regular clothes which we wear every day is one set. Working clothes another set. For you it's school uniform. And then on those special clothes we keep only for Sundays to go to church or special occasions and so on. Alright. So this is again the ones marked in yellow. Please make sure that you memorize. That's very important. And then he noticed another thing. First thing is his teacher did not scold him at all. He's very nicely said, come and sit. And the other thing is, he noticed his teacher in special clothes. And then the next thing he notices on the benches, all the village people were sitting, the old village people. Who are they? There is a list of names over here. Again, I've highlighted in yellow. Make sure that you mark in your textbook and memorize. Old Hauser with his three-cornered hat, the former mayor, the former postmaster, and several others besides. All of them were sitting there. And in fact, Hauser had even brought an old primer. These are the people who have come from the village, all the old people, and they are also sitting in the classroom. And why the old primer? That is an old primary school book. Primer is a beginner's book. Okay, thumbed at the edges. Why? No, in a new book, what happens? New book, it will be looking new, brand new. Alright. As it gets old, what will happen to the corners? The corners will all bend and like dog's ears. So we have that. Okay. So here he says that the old primer he is carrying. That also can be an objective type question. Old primer. Please remember is an beginner's book, old primary school book. Okay, that's a primer is a beginner, and thumbed at the edges means old book. So all the corners have gone. Alright. Now, when this is going on, he saw Hamel speaking in a very grave, very serious tone. He's speaking very serious tone. He is really serious about the lesson. And Franz is trying to get all this into his little head. What's happening? School was so quiet. Teachers not scolding. Teachers wearing special clothes, and also all the villagers are sitting. 4 points are there that you have to remember. What are the changes he notices? And then suddenly he sees the teacher saying something. I want you to be very attentive. There's an order that has come. From tomorrow, German is going to be taught in your school, not French. Imagine someone walks into your classroom and tells you, okay, today your lesson is in English and from tomorrow it's going to be in Arabic. How would you feel? Or is it totally out of context? Not even any of the Indian languages. So to a French person who has always been speaking French, and suddenly someone walks in and tells, no, from tomorrow it's going to be German. So it's an utter shock to him. How did it react? Says he, like a thunderclap. Very startling and unexpected something that is falling on you. Like thunder. Alright. So he is so shocked. And then he says, oh the wretches. Oh the wretches. How unfortunate. I did not even bother to learn the language. And by the time now I have to stop learning the language. I am a French person and I don't even know French. Okay. So this kind of a guilty feeling starts coming in. And why is it always that we lose something and then we start realizing the value of it? Almost all the time it's like that. So we learn a lesson here. And then he says, here I should be going for bird's eggs and sliding on the Saar. What is the Saar? The Saar is the river. Okay. This river flows from France to Germany. Okay. So this is the name of the river over there, the Saar. And then he realized how his teacher is just so bad-tempered. Very strange behavior and all that. Okay. But today what happened? Teacher is not having his ruler in hand. He is not being nasty or anything. Nothing. He is being very good. And now he realizes why his teacher is in such good clothes. Why everyone, villagers are there. Why the classroom was quiet. And suddenly dawns on him. Oh my God. This school is going to close off and from tomorrow it's going to be German. My teacher will not be there anymore. Imagine my teacher whom I have been seeing for all these years. Okay. So now let's go to the next important part. Okay. Now always what happens, see the lines I've highlighted here. in yellow, Ba, I have plenty of time, I'll learn it tomorrow. And now you see where we have come out. That's a great trouble with Alsay. She puts off learning till tomorrow. This is a problem with all of us. From this story we can learn many things. We say we'll do it tomorrow, we'll do it later. There's a nice little story for this. It seems, like suddenly all the devils started thinking, in this place now all these people are being so very good, doing all their work in time and everything is going fine and they seem to be so happy. Devil could not tolerate that and said, come on, let me plan, and we should go down and to the earth and somehow spoil this. And then when the devil came down and tried all sorts of things, showed them a lot of riches, showed them all the bad things in the world, this, that, but nothing was happening. These people were still being very fine and not really being affected by anything. And the devil was really upset. Went back to hell and was discussing with the other devils. And one small little devil said, wait, give me one chance, I'll just put right everything. No, you shouldn't be telling people don't be good. Then how will they listen to you? So the little devil came down. And then the devil came and then just said, no problem. You can all do what you all are doing. Just do it a little bit later. Just do it afterwards. And then there came the problem. And all stopped doing what they are doing. And they said, okay, let me do it later. Let me do it later. And that day never came. So, procrastination, putting off things for later, is the worst sin anybody can commit. So here also you just see, he's teaching us a beautiful lesson from these lines. Never put off anything for tomorrow. Alright, now let's come back here. Okay, so the teacher goes on to explain why we have to blame ourselves. He's being very critical about himself also. He's sad and disappointed that even not only him, he says not only the students, the parents, I said all of us, we have to feel bad for what we have done. We have not done what we should be doing. Okay. So your parents also are not very interested. If you look at towns and villages, they're not very interested in sending their children to school. They may just put it off for a little later. Alright. And the same thing here, he says, even I have been sending you away once in a while. Come on, today we'll close school, let it be a holiday. Okay, so all of us are to blame, he says, not only you children, it's parents also, me also. And then he says, and then he goes on to do something beautiful. He gives a lovely definition and explanation for the French language. And he says this is the most beautiful. See here, I've again started highlighting here in yellow. You can see the most beautiful language in the world. No? So all what is highlighted in yellow, make sure that you know it thoroughly well. It's the clearest, most logical language and we must guard it among us and never forget it. So we have a great responsibility of safeguarding our own mother tongue. If we are not going to use our mother tongue, who will use? When you stop using a language, it dies. You have to keep on using it, only then the language will remain alive. Okay? English is a very new language. It came in much later after all other languages. But why is it so alive? Because it's kept active in all of media and education across the world. And that's why it's kept alive. If people stop using the language, it will die. The same will happen to all our mother tongue. So we have to keep using it in some way or the other. We do have that responsibility as well. But here he is something, very special he says. He says, when a people are enslaved, as long as they hold fast to their language, it is as if they hold the key to their prison. So if you are going to really hold on to your language, only then you can talk about, you'll have your identity. No? If I'm going to call myself an, okay, say a Gujarati or a Bengali, now how do I identify? Because of the language that I speak. So if I'm not going to speak in that language, then how am I going to, have an identity at all? That language will die. Okay. So now from France, now you see the other side, how it's going to be. I had never listened so carefully, and that he had also never explained everything with so much patience. It seemed almost as if the poor man wanted to give us all he knew before going away and to put it all into our heads at one stroke. So very carefully he was listening. No? Little boy was listening very carefully. Let me tell you, if you really listen to a class, any kind of teaching or anyone speaking you're listening to, if you listen really with 100% attention, you will never forget it. You will understand everything. The problem is in a classroom when we are sitting to listen, we half listen and half hear. Okay, so something like what Franz now suddenly seems to understand everything of participles. Why? So here the most beautiful language, the lines given here is very important. Make sure that you know it. And then what Franz feels about it. Okay, and then what he teaches. What does Hamel teach that day? He makes them all write these words in neat handwriting. All of them sit and write and learn. Then he teaches them participles, of course. Okay. And when all this is going on, everyone is so quiet and everyone is so much engrossed in doing their written work so sincerely that this line comes to his mind. It's a very important line for a long answer. Will they sing, make them sing in German, even the pigeons? What? I think, okay, they conquered us. They have taken our land. They want to impose their language on us. Will they do that even to the pigeons? He was looking at the birds outside and he was thinking so. Can they make even, can freedom be taken away and you being made a slave to that extent? So this question only raises, the whole question on freedom, on liberty. Okay. And then what happens after this? He goes on into a reflective mode, to thinks about, looks at everything, He looks at the schoolroom, he thinks about how he has been very careless at times, alright? And then looks at and thinks of how the plants have grown big. Now Hamel is also thinking. He could hear his sister packing off everything. Their room was just above the classroom. So they were packing off to move, and so all these reflective things, very sad moments, emotional, last day, last lesson. Okay, so the very title, The Last Lesson, brings in a lot of emotions. You have all spent more than 12 years in school. Okay, starting from your KG, nursery, whatever classes. Then now it's going to be a last lesson. No more school. You're not going to come back to school. How would you feel? That's your last class. So the very feelings that come in, the very sad moments and all that. So everyone is being very that. And then after writing and all that, the babies are made to see the ba, ba, be, boo. Now here I have again highlighted. What is this? These are the phonics or the sounds which you, if you remember, you would have first learned when you were in KG also. And what the ba, ba, be, be and all is. It's like, okay. Those are the sounds, the first sounds of the alphabet that you learn. Okay. And then as this is going on, they are reciting, they are writing, they are learning about participles and history. And then suddenly the church bell goes. Here you can see that line. All at once the church clock struck 12 and then the Angelus. You should know what it is. If it is a 1-mark question or a 2 marks question on what the Angelus is. The Angelus is a particular prayer said 3 times in the day when the church bell goes. Nowadays, because of all the noise pollution, we are not able to hear. But otherwise, in those days, church bell marked everything. If you look at the Western world especially, a church bell. Even now here, wherever there are churches, now the bell goes morning 6, evening 6 and afternoon 12. So it's usually morning 6, afternoon 12 and evening 6 when the church bells go. And then at that time, everyone will stop and say the prayer, which is called the Angelus. Now here for them, when the church bell goes at 12, that means school is over. They'll all break and go to their homes, have their lunch, whatever. So that was, school is also over. So when the church bell went, they knew they all had to stop and they had to just, go home. The last class is over. Okay. Alright. So we have here Hamel Standing tall. Why so tall? The respect, the honor as a teacher for the 40 years that he has worked there. Okay. And he has served them. And now he has to leave and go. Very emotional moment. So naturally he choked. What is choking? No? It's a feeling like a block in your throat. You're not, when you are full with emotions, especially about to cry, what will happen? As though something is blocking here on your throat and no words will come out. Your eyes will well up with tears. So that's what is choking. No words. So he's just trying to write on the board, Viva la France and long live France. And then he just shows a sign. Okay, school is dismissed. You may go. That's how the last lesson ends. Now quickly let us go with the main points in the lesson. We'll just brush through once. The people in this story suddenly realize how precious the language is. No? So this is one lesson that we learn. How precious our language is. What are the things that France feels about language? And what are the things that Hamel says about the French language? Okay. Will they make them sing in German, even the pigeons? What could this mean? To what extent freedom can be snatched away from them? Can they do that even to the birds? Okay. And then the next thing is the term linguistic chauvinism. No? Chauvinism is any kind of an extremism. Extremism is never good in regarding anything. If you want, I always believe in this middle path. And I advise all my students also always try and go in the middle path. There is no need to go to one end on this side or one end on this side. For example, one being an atheist and saying no God is one extreme. Another being such a fanatic about religion and extremism, that is also bad. We just be middle path. Why should you go and say no God, and why should you go to the other end? You live, let live, others live. Respect yourself, respect others for their views and just leave it. Any kind of chauvinism is an extremism. So linguistic chauvinism is only my language should thrive and nothing else. So I'll impose my language everywhere. The British made English the medium over here of instruction. They wanted all the Indians to work in their offices, and then that's it. Now English is dominating the world is a different thing. Wherever the British ruled across the world, it's English being used. Okay. So it's linguistic chauvinism is one end of having only my language. In certain parts of our country also, these kind of problems do come up where they feel only my language should be there, and therefore put down all other languages and make mine compulsory. You can't do that. Everybody's language is different, whatever they want to do. There is a nice word study here. If you look at, you can maybe like petit comes from the French language. English is a language that is made with words borrowed from all other languages in the world. Okay. You can find out some more, like veranda is also an Indian language, is very much from India and things like that. Okay. Now quickly we'll go with some of these 1-mark questions, your MCQs, which I've already marked the answers, highlighting here in yellow. So the thunderclap is startling and unexpected. And what is hold fast to their language or attached to their language? And school in plenty of time is early enough, and looks so tall, seem very confident. Okay, about what he has done, 40 years he has been teaching the Hamel. Okay, all right. Now little bit we'll touch on your writing section also. There is a notice for practice over here. It would be nice if you can actually practice writing that. And this can be converted into a debate. It's a beautiful topic for that, I would say. Having to study 3 languages in school. Now this is one important section B or writing question which you should know. Actually, as per our country's language learning formula, CBSE's language learning formula, it is a 3-language formula. One is English, which you all are learning. One is your mother tongue. And one is a third language, or either the regional language or any foreign language, or there are a lot of options that CBSE gives, depends on the school. So all of you should know at least 3 languages minimum. Okay. And I think automatically we all as Indians end up learning languages if we move from state to state, because every state has a different language. So if you end up living for a few months or years in each of these states, you will end up learning all the languages. So many languages are there. Okay. Now to learn how to write the third question, it's again very nice, but narrate, and I have underlined that because how to write a good narration. You can watch my another video. I'll give you the link here where I explain how to go about writing a good narrative. Alright. So this is the lesson about the theme we have already discussed. Alright. And even the sub-theme we have already discussed. Make sure that you learn well. Okay. Mark all this in your textbook. These are the these are the important points in the lesson. You don't have to go with the whole lesson reading every line. Just learn it and do well. Hope you have enjoyed the lesson. So keep watching Sessions with Judith John for more tips and inputs to excel and stand out. Do contact me on this WhatsApp number 829797082 or text your doubts and queries in the comment box below the video. Mail me at sessionswithjudithjohn for any kind of discussion or doubt clearing sessions. You're most welcome. Thank you. God bless you.